Hello everyone, welcome back to Scala Project from Scratch. This is episode number 2. If you haven't seen the first one, I recommend you check it out. There should be a link somewhere on the screen right now. I guess I want to explain the idea again. Let's get to it. So in the previous episode, in episode 1, we set up the project, like did a basic setup of the project. Actually, hold on, let me turn on some music. So we did set up the project. We got some basic CI setup as well. So GitHub Actions is now running on every commit to the main branch and running the tests. I think it should be running the tests at least. We can always verify that, which I will do in a sec. Let me just open the file so that I don't forget. We did some work on the design of the model, and we implemented our first piece of logic and a test for it. And the logic is here in the executor type or algebra. And then we have the tests in here, our munit tests. So that's what we achieved last time. And I think I mentioned that for episode 2, what we would be doing is, first of all, we'll start writing the client. So initialize the client, and we'll try to communicate to the server. So maybe define like an implementation of executor that will actually run the action on the remote runner on the server. So this is quite an ambitious goal for one video like this. I'm not sure we'll make it in whole. Again, I want these to be at most 90 minutes long. So that's how long I'll be recording, and we'll see. We'll see if we manage to do all of it. So communicate with backend or with server. And I also want a Scala Steward setup. So that's actually what I'm going to set up first. So yeah, that's the plan for today. Yeah, so first I'm just going to check if we actually run the tests. I think we do. So we have, we run the test for every Scala version in the build, and there's just one. This is here, 310 RC2. I don't really know how many RCs we expect to see, but I can tell you for sure when there's a stable version, we will switch to it. Actually, something interesting that's different starting with Scala 3.0.0 is that when you have libraries built with Scala 3, you don't need to cross-publish them for all of these versions. You should be able to just publish them for like Scala 3, and you never have to, do cross-publishing again under the 3x versions, which is a change from the 2x versions, because 2.12 and 2.13 required separate artifacts for every library to be published. Okay, I think the music is a little too loud. Back to this. So I mentioned Scala Steward, let's do it. So I already have the page open. This is the list of repositories that Scala Steward handles. I do have edit rights in this repository, but I'm not gonna use it. I'm just gonna submit this so that someone else can approve it. This is the list of the repositories. I have a couple already. So Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but it should be somewhere here. Yeah. So I'm just gonna make this as a new branch. I'm gonna submit the PR, and maybe by the end of the recording we'll have it merged. Although I don't think there are any new versions for our dependencies. We just have a munit and cats effect and the commented out version of cats.mtl. So let's say this point in the checklist has been done. We've done that. We can move on to the next one. So basically initialize the client project and communicate to with the server. So I mentioned, I think in the previous video, that we were going to move executor. Oh, by the way, I have some small announcements. I saw after recording the first episode that the quality of the sound was not consistent throughout the video. I assumed it was because the program that I use, Crisp, to cancel some noise, it was detecting that there's more noise and it was like doing more aggressive reduction and thus changing my voice as well. But apparently it was just my microphone disconnecting and switching back to the built-in microphone in my MacBook. So that's when we would hear the worst quality of the sound. So I think it should be stable today. Just the USB microphone that I'm using here. Yeah, hopefully this won't change because that's the better version. So do I have any other announcements? I guess not. Maybe later. Yeah. So I mentioned that we would probably move this interface to a shared module, to the shared module. So I think we're gonna do that. I'm just gonna define it here as executor again, and we're gonna just move. Well, we're gonna steal most of it. Most of it. That's a huge exaggeration. We're gonna steal part of it. That's all we're gonna do. And system state, I think we're also gonna have to steal. There we go. And now I'm wondering, like, should this really be a trait, like an open trait like this? By the way, did they finally implement this? Oh, they did. Wow. Interesting. I forgot about this. So open trait is a thing in Scala 3. Interesting. I'm gonna actually use this. Although I'm not sure if open traits are like required if you want to extend them somewhere else. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. So I definitely don't want this to be like executor again. This will be like, I don't know, server side executor. Again, these are just names. I'm wondering about the performance. It's still not perfect and I cannot really do much about it. So sorry for that, but the frame rate isn't really very great. And that also affects the compilation speed. Eventually I might get some better hardware, but I cannot really say when that will happen. So I just hope this is fine if we just deal with it or try to. So this is not seeing the executor type, which I think is strange. We are in the same package, aren't we? Both are in the Steve package, and the server also relies on the shared module. It has a dependency on it. So I expect this to work. How about steve.executor? No, I don't think that's working. Or is it? It's not a member of Steve. That's strange. Let's just try this in Bloop. Then I'm gonna check if the... Well, I guess it's able to see hash, which is in the shared module. So why wouldn't it see the executor type? The trait and the object and also the system state. They're all in the same package, as well as this. I think it should work. There might be like a very obvious answer to my question here, but I guess we'll have to find it ourselves, or I'll have to do it myself. I'm also worried about this executor test. This also won't compile for sure. Couldn't find testc file. Strange. Let's just clear the bloop files, the bloop output at least. What I call the bloop files are usually, well, we cannot see them here, the JSON files defining the build. So apparently it worked. It was just like a stale cache issue. So I was doing everything right, it seems. It was just some like general bloop instability or too much caching. We all know cache invalidation is one of the most difficult problems of computer science, right? So server-side executor, that should do it. And we should also probably rename the class. All right, I had to take a quick break, but we're back to it. So we've renamed everything, and let's just confirm it still works. That's not what it's called, is it? I'm surprised it's still showing me these names. It's not gonna work. Or I guess I didn't save the file. Or it still sees the old class. That's strange. That's not supposed to run a test. Okay, it works now. All right, so we have that. I'm just gonna commit that. Okay, and now I mentioned we can start working on the client, but also I think we'll define, like it's time to define the protocol somehow. But I guess we will have a client as well, like some code in there. So let's start with that. It's the easy part. So we're gonna have the Steve here. So client side executor. Nope. Client side executor. And we're gonna have an instance. And let's just leave it like this, or just do a new executor. We're gonna have to define the methods ourselves. I'm just gonna copy them and leave just the signatures. So in metals, in like different versions of Scala, this would be, we'll be able to complete this like with completions, but the Scala 3 tooling isn't that advanced yet. So we have this, and yeah, now it's time to define the protocol. So as I mentioned in the first video, we're gonna stick to the simplest thing first, but I really wanted to reuse the code and the format on both sides of the communication. So probably the best way to do this easily is use Tapir. We'll define our endpoints. Like we'll have an endpoint for the build, we'll have an endpoint for run, and we will expose that as an HTTP API using http4s. So I guess it's time. And Tapir will need to definitely be a dependency of the shell module. So here we go. So we will definitely need Tapir, the core. I think we will also need JSON. So that's a lot of modules. So let me just take Tapir core, which I don't think we need to pull in because it will be a dependency of every other module as well, but just for completeness. Some people are into just, taking all dependencies explicitly. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I'm just gonna do whichever works in a particular case. In this case, let's do it. So we'll take Tapir JSON Circe. That's what I want to use. I want to use Circe. Tapir new type, probably not. That's a lot of modules. This should probably not be published. Tapir server tests. What else do we have? Client, probably not yet. Swagger, we can do this in the server. Tests, I don't think we need that yet. Yeah, in fact, I think that's all we need, just these two modules. And we're gonna use this version, although I'm not sure what the latest one is. I am not convinced by the search in Scala, so I'm just gonna go to Tapir and see for myself. We have some releases. So this is a milestone indeed. I need to find the way that's compatible with Cast Effect 3, because I'm not sure. In fact, I'm gonna find the PR that does this. and see which version it was introduced in. So probably this. So that was, okay, I still don't see which tag it is in. But it was merged into master in July. Let me just check if it's in 0.18 as well. Actually, you know what? We can trust SBT to check this for us. Let me just start this with the native launcher. Well, it'll start an SBT server so that if I exit, I won't have to wait for the startup again. It's still taking some time, just like SBT in the old times. This would have been much faster if I wasn't recording, so this is not the fault of SBT at all. Let's see if we can update. This should fail if the versions are not compatible. Okay, apparently this could be fine. Let's just see in evicted. Or I guess shared / evicted. That should be good enough. So cast effect. Oh, that's the Scala library. Okay. This is fine. Cast effect 32931. Yeah, I think this is the right. Oh yeah, I'm just I didn't really pull in any cast effect module with Tapir, so we wouldn't even know. So we need the http4s module. I'm just gonna add it for a sec just to check the versions so that we use the right version from the start. Let's just use Tapir again, and we'll need to find the http4s module, the server. Oh, I didn't even know there was a client module. I thought you could only use the, make a client from HTTP. So we're probably gonna use this. I don't think we need HTTP at all in that case. Not yet anyway. So I think that's the module. Let's also take the same version and go back to SBT. So reload, update, and let's see what happens now. All right, so this is strange. All right, so it looks like it wasn't published for Scala 3 yet. This is a problem. It definitely wasn't published for Scala 3. So http4s. Yeah, so wait. What? What? Tapir? http4s server. That's what I'm missing. Oh, this. Yeah, I forgot to remove this line. That's better. I'm now happier. So now we not only need to check if the version of cast effect is correct, but also what the version of http4s is. Did I say cast effect first? Yeah. So we need both to be the right version, cast effect and http4s. Otherwise, it's gonna be trouble. So I want to deal with http4s 0.23, but this is 0.22, and cast effect 2. That's not good. So we're gonna have to use the milestones for sure. So the latest was 0.19.0 M9, and we're gonna use that. Okay, and as long as we just use the same milestone everywhere, it's gonna be fine. Again, this is not a production targeting project, so I'm okay with using a milestone like this, but you should probably not put libraries with such versions into production unless you're really brave. For Tapir, I guess you can risk it. It's, you know, the APIs are probably not likely to change that much. It really depends on how much code you have with it. Why did I do this again? Oh, I wanted to see the dependency list, so okay. Yeah, looks like we got the right versions, so 0.23. The stable releases, that's good to know. And yeah, so I'm gonna just comment this out for now, or actually I'm just gonna move this to the server already. And import into metals, this is going to take a while. So I'm probably gonna skip this. Okay, so the build was imported. I also managed to order food in the meantime. Yes, it's 11 p.m., but I don't care. So, this project, we should be able to use Tapir now. It's been a while since I used it. I'm not even sure what 0.19 looks like. Hopefully it's the same as the previous versions. I did really enjoy my time with Tapir, so I have high hopes. Let's do some like protocol. Let's go like this. By the way, we could very well make this a separate module, which would depend on the we would have a model module with all the data types. Then the protocol would depend on that, and like the shared logic, like this executor type, would also depend on that, and you know, just some other modules would pull in the modules they want. This way, you can achieve some degree of you know, separation of concerns, and also the like hide specific data types from other modules. So for example, you wouldn't be able to accidentally use the protocol in the model, and so on. You can also, I think there's also tooling to guarantee this, something like Arch Unit or whatever. I'm not sure if it works in Scala. It's definitely tooling that exists for the JVM, for Java at least, or for Maven. Anyway, I don't really care. Like I can rely on discipline to not do bad dependencies. So yeah, so this is it. Let's import Tapir. Hopefully that's all of it. Okay, did they put it into a package? They did not. I'm gonna check this with Bloop again, just because I don't trust the IDE anymore. So this doesn't work, and Tapir. Oh, it's http Tapir. There we go. Okay, fine. My faith in the IDE was restored. So that is it. We'll have a basic endpoint, which will be private, and you know, we can do like a path. It'll start with API. We could do versioning in here, but I don't really care. And that's, I think, all we need. Like, do I need to define anything else here? Like errors? I don't think we need typed errors. We don't have any types, like errors yet. But we will have an error enum somewhere. For every command, we'll have a separate enum for that. But they will be throwables, so they will be embedded into the error. So I guess we can do infallible endpoint, I think. Although now I'm not sure, we probably cannot do it that way. You know what, I'm gonna do this for now, but we will change it later. Just for now, because we don't really have any errors yet. Right? Well, I guess we do, but they are not going to be part of the interface. It's just like a random throwables. I'm talking about these throwables in here and in here. Let me just check how my food is doing. it's gonna happen, hopefully. So, the protocol. Let me open the executor side by side. I always mess up the shortcut. It's this. Okay, so it's control command arrows. Let's get the executor. I think I'll move my face down here. There we go. So I need one endpoint for build and one endpoint for run. Let's do it. Build will be base. It's gonna have to be a post, I think, or a put. Let's do put here because this is like eventually gonna be, cacheable or whatever. I think it's fine to do it this way. It will be a path called like build. We're gonna have an output of type. Oh, this is gonna be fun. So Circe or JSON. Circe. It's gonna be JSON body of build. Wait, no, that's the output, so hash. And we'll have an input like JSON body build. So I realized I haven't really said anything about Tapir, and it's not like the most popular library in the world. So I'm gonna talk a little about what it is and how it works in a second. I'm just gonna write this first. This is not gonna work. I need some codecs for build and hash. And now the big question, where do we put the codecs? So as I mentioned before, like we don't want to have dumb dependencies, but at the same time, there's really a reason why Scala has this kind of derives syntax. So I think I'm gonna use that. We're gonna use import IOSRC codec, and we're gonna derive codecs. I think it goes here. No, the command, we don't need that. Actually, I don't even know if we're gonna use this enum at all. So codec as object, I think that's how you're supposed to do this. And we'll repeat this for every other type. Well, the hash is kind of weird, but we can always change. I think I'll change this into something else later. The derivations are fine if we don't really care about the representation. Like, just give me something that works in both sides. If you want to customize this, like, have an unwrapped array when we encode the hash, that's probably a better way. Like a better way to write the codecs manually. But right now, I just want something that works. We are missing something else, so we need a schema that makes sense. And Tapir is actually like one of the few cases where I really like auto derivation. I wouldn't use like Circe generic auto probably ever. Well, there's a limited amount of cases where I would use this like in something that's like a super prototype. Not here. I want this to be, kind of more stable and not rely on imports. This is semi-auto derivation. It's still better than that. So this code compiles, and what's the type? Okay, build nothing hash any. What's any here? It's the streams, I guess. And no errors because we defined infallible endpoint, which I guess makes sense. So let me tell you like what Tapir is. I guess now's the time. So Tapir is a library by software manual. Let's just go maybe to the docs for a second. So it's a library that allows you to define your HTTP endpoints as values, and then you can, like, for example, this is a value, and I have a complete description of an endpoint that then I can interpret into many ways, like in many ways into many things. For example, from this description, I can get HTTP routes in http4s for free. I can get an HTTP client, like for this specific endpoint. Apparently, we can do it now for http4s. We were always able to do it for STTP, which is another software middle library. The client server, we can also get the documentation like Swagger, which we will eventually add because I want to have like a web client, web UI, and that's the easiest way to get it quickly. You can also do it for, you can get async API descriptions, and I think redoc was also available, but that's, I think, just a different frontend for OpenAPI. So instead of Swagger, you would use redoc. Or whatever whatever the right pronunciation is. And yeah, we can go to like HTTP, to http4s, to Netty, and it's apparently zero HTTP now. And yeah, that's basically it for Tapir, for what it is. I'm gonna use it, as I said, with http4s as much as I can. If it doesn't work for the client, we'll use HTTP. But the server that we're gonna have is definitely gonna be http4s, and hopefully the client as well. So this is our endpoint. I can already like do stuff with it, but I probably won't. Let's define the other one. So we're gonna have the run command, and this is going to be, let's do a post this time. And in here, like the way that I will call this endpoint, I can already like, oh yeah, you can also do curl. You can convert an endpoint to a curl, I think. Or maybe I'm mistaking it for, hold on. Or maybe that was in an HTTP request. All right, sorry. So if you convert an endpoint to an HTTP request, then you can get a curl command to run this client request. But yeah, I'm not sure if it is available here. It probably isn't. I couldn't find it like this. So yeah, that's fine as well. But yeah, if I connected this to a server, like this endpoint, then I would call it using like, you know, let's say with curl. And this would be curl put, and let's say I have some sort of like server running on localhost. Yeah, basically this, like this would be the payload of build. It would be JSON. It will automatically check the content type, I think. Yeah. And as a response, we'll get a JSON encoded value of this hash. So I think this will be like an object with an array of numbers, which will be bytes. Not the most efficient encoding for sure, but it should be fine for now. We don't need to be super efficient in these stages of the project. So we'll have a post. We'll have the run part of the path. You can also do like templates, so like path ID, and then like eval, whatever. And this will give you like an endpoint that gets as well. We have to specify the type here. Let's say an int. An endpoint that gets an int as input. Here we go. That's the first type parameter. I just realized that my head might still be covering this code. Hopefully you saw everything. Anyway, this is what is possible. Like this kind of path parameters, and this ID here, that's just a placeholder which will be used, for example, to generate the OpenAPI documentation, so that this parameter also has a name, which I think is great. Anyway, we don't need that. We just have, you know, everything will be in the body. That's it. So the input will be JSON body of hash, and the output will be system state. Do we actually have a codec for that? We don't. Yeah, so this is why I thought to just make it a map. So I think I will, just to make it all easier. So the server-side executor we'll rename this to system state, like the whole case class. It will not be private anymore. And this will go away. And actually, well, this has to be in the model, apparently. Although I kind of don't like it being, you know, a top level value, a top level class. So I'm thinking about nesting it into something else. For example, for a hash. I don't know, let's do it. Because, you know, a system state is kind of like a description of a given hash. In our cases, our case hashes are just images. Well, results of builds. Although I guess in intermediate values, like intermediate layers, will also have hashes, so probably not. Let's just keep it on the top level. But that was a quick refutal of my original idea. Which is fine, that's kind of the point of experimentation, of cheap experimentation. And we need an output, so at this point we should be able to use system state. That was the name, right? Okay, so this seems to work, at least on compile time. So I'm first gonna do a server for these endpoints. And this means I need way more dependencies. So we have the server in here, but it's time to add some http4s modules. And at some point, I guess I'll add also the OpenAPI thing, or maybe async API, which also supports like HTTP endpoints. But I haven't. Yeah, it's probably not the time to do it. Let me just check the timing. Cool. We have time. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna use Ember as the client, as the server and the client. The reason is that it's written in like, purely Scala. There's no, and well, it's like purely functional Scala. It doesn't require as much power as Blaze does, but if you are going to do something in production at this point, you should still probably use Blaze. So I'm gonna use this Ember server. I'm gonna get the DSL. I'm gonna get the, there's probably no need for this. If we are gonna get everything generated by Tapir, we probably don't need http4s client, which is fun and pretty nice actually. Eventually we might need it, but not yet. So 0.23. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I need to report this as a bug in the extension because there's no, the latest version doesn't show up. It's gonna be 0.23.3. I think that's what we got in here, and when we looked at the dependencies in here. Yep. Let's update. And actually, I'm gonna try. Can I actually do this? I wanted to configure metals to use the client flag, but then I would have to copy paste all the other flags that I'm using by default, so probably not. Probably not gonna do that. What did I do? Oh, yeah. I guess that's it. Let's import. And yeah, at this point, we can start writing the server. In the server code, we'll have some sort of file. Let's do a main or server main. Yeah, I guess it's already in the path of the file, so no need for that. And yeah, we'll do the boring stuff, the boring part of setting up an http4s server. I guess I'll do it in a relatively simple way for starters, like just in here in my run method. Did I say Blaze? I probably didn't. This is gonna be Ember, right? Ember server builder default. I know. Apparently it does require async, so the same kind of constraints as Blaze now requires. but still, I'm gonna use this. And hopefully we won't regret it. We will... How do you do this? This is quite different from what I'm used to. I mostly worked with Blaze. Okay, so I guess you don't say bind or anything like that. You just say with. How about port? Oh, and I guess everything will be like super... Yeah, this is the IP4s library, the port type. What's org Comcast? No, wait. It's Comcast IP4s port. I never remember how to make one from int. That's not the thing. I want something like type safe. There's probably like an implicit. Well, not in. Syntax? No? Literals, that's it. Yep. So I'm gonna get all of this, and we're gonna say with port. Let's hope this compiles. Let's build, and let's use forever. Okay, this is not available. So maybe there is no literal for a port, or I just did something wrong. We have IP. A lot of stuff. The port is here as well. Let's just import the port one. It can be made as an extension method, but Oh, so literals is like a... I guess this needs to be implicit, so port? Yeah, these are defined as extension methods in the string context. I see. So literals just defines like the literally... That's another type of a library. Literally implementation. And then this is like the extension method. Fine, and then we'll have a host. IP4, P4, I guess that's how I can do it. No. Right, by the way, what is host in here? Host name. And this expects a host. What is a host then? We're looking for the host, yeah, this one. This is just a sealed trait, and it can be either an IP address or something else. Host from string. IP4 is also an IP. Yeah. So I think we can do either, like go the host like this, or use IPv4. Yeah, that also works. I'm just gonna do host. It's more generic. Actually, I'm just gonna start this and see if we can connect in a different window. Okay, I got a not found, which I guess makes sense. I was expecting to see some sort of server header, but apparently it doesn't show up, at least not in... How about... Yeah, I guess we'll have to add it, or maybe it will be returned if we actually have a response. So let's import a bunch of stuff. Exactly this. GitHub Copilot already knows what I want to import. And also org http4s implicits. And let's do a simple binding. Wait, no. I don't think I need the DSL. Why did I even get it? We probably don't need it because we will get everything generated from Tapir. So we'll have an HTTP app here. And this is probably the time to import SSP Tapir server, http4s. And I think we can just use this. Is that it? It used to be just extension methods. I think now you can do stuff more explicitly, which is great for me. What's the method? Yeah, these are like strange, completions that you get from in Scala 3 only in metals. No clue why this shows up this way, but okay. Let's see what this gives us. Interpret, is there something like that? No, I guess we'll have to go to the type. Two routes. Not exactly what I'm looking for. I guess, oh, we do need an argument. That's funny, okay. Okay, that's much better. So, two HTTP or two routes. The question is why we would take one over the other. So what's the difference between two HTTP and two routes? So this takes an endpoint. And some logic for it. Also, we're gonna use this recover errors. So basically it's just these two. Just these two methods, or just two routes, this one. I think this one works best. I won't have to repeat it. Yeah, I think it makes sense. But what does HTTP do? I guess there's a point to it. You know what? Let's just try to do it all with one endpoint, and I'll see what the different ways to do it are. So let's just do this. The implicit we might actually need. So let's import the endpoint. So this is protocol build, and let's do to server logic. So I had a longer break because the food arrived. Anyway, we're back to this. So we were going to use server logic, like one of these versions. Doesn't really matter which one. For this build endpoint. So this is quite confusing. There's too much stuff in here. I'm gonna use server logic recover errors. That seems to be the one. Or infallible. Is that possible? I think we can do that. Let's see if it compels. It does. But also, we will get some input here, so we'll get the build. Actually. Let's do something like IO println build, and we'll return hash empty. Is that how we do it? Yep, I think so. No, it's not empty. It's default. Is it? This navigation is super confusing, but it's all in hash. Hash dot. Oh, it's build.empty, but there is no empty hash exposed. I'm just gonna do this with an array. We're just gonna replace this with the server-side executor later, so it doesn't really matter what I do here. That's my server logic, and now we can put, we can convert this into an endpoint. So two routes. Let's see which ones we can use. See, this should work. Yeah, that's an HTTP routes. How about to HTTP? This works as well. but I think it's just HTTP routes again. So there must be a reason why 2HTTP exists. IEO. Oh, I see. It allows a different effect type, it seems. So what's the last type here? F. This is the effect type in the logic. R is the streaming, most likely. So we are streaming in F, but we have effects in G. So that's the reason. And two HTTP routes, or two routes, only works with one effect, the F that we already know. Yeah, and because I don't have any streams, like this has nothing or any as the streaming type, the streaming capabilities, this will work. So I think we can deal with this, like just use two routes. But also, does this have an overload for a list? It does, so I want to use that. We'll have a list of server endpoints. So like this, endpoints, and we'll have, or not found. I'm just gonna call it on the interpreted value. So this is all it takes to support this single endpoint. Let's do it. Let's run this. So we should be able to, now I'm gonna use, now I'm gonna use an http command to run this, and we're gonna call localhost. This is, I think, API build. That's what we did. This will be in the endpoint. It's put API build with the build as the description. That's gonna be, we're gonna have to come up with a fake build value, but that's all right. And this will be a put. Let's see what error we get. It's a bad request, so we have an exhausted input. If we send any kind of JSON value, it'll realize that we don't have like a base dot commands, I think. Well, no, it's base and commands, so it's like showing all the errors in decoding. That's pretty neat. That's pretty nice. So let's just remind ourselves what the build model was. So it's base, which can be empty image or an image reference. I'll use the empty image and an empty list of commands. So base, I think the encoding is gonna be just empty image as an object. So something like this, like empty image as a key and an empty object, like a literally empty object as the value of that key. I think that's how we can do base. And now commands is just going to be an empty JSON array. So we run this and there's a problem. The server failed. Oh wow. There's probably a Stack Overflow exception in here. That's fun, that's strange. That's unexpected for sure. I would like to see the top of that stack trace, but it's gonna be difficult. And frankly, I didn't expect this. So it has to be something about the specifics of our types here. So let's just change the endpoint into something simpler to try to find the cause of this issue. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy all of this. Well, this part. I'm gonna copy it and put it in here to sort of shadow the types defined in the package. And this should still be working, although we don't have the codec type class in here, so just import. Okay, it's ambiguous, so we'll need to do something like, yeah, something like this. That's all right. The problem is that codec in here has a meaning, like it's a Circe codec. So I'm worried that, actually I'm not sure why this is happening, because there's no recursion in here in the model, so no clue really. Let's see if we just have the base, like for starters. And just make sure that we are using the right type. Yeah, so that's what we're using. Let's start the server again. Well, it was stopped anyway. This is gonna be a problem. As hash. You know what? Let's just return anything. Like, well, let's just fail the request. If we even see this print line, that's gonna be a success. Let's go. Also, this error, did you see this? I'm gonna get back to this in a sec, but we have the server. Let's just send the same request. And it's still failing, wow. The error I wanted to show is this. If you look at the output from Bloop, like I can't get over how nice this is. Like it shows the difference that this is a different hash. So it's not like found hash, expected hash. So you can actually see this. If the error is more complex, like, you know, there's more types involved, then it really helps to know which one is which one. Like this squared here shows us, you know, we can identify this that way. I'm not sure how much of this color stuff, like in here, this is really nice. I'm not sure which, like whether this is the compiler's doing or Bloop. But anyway, we didn't get to this point, right? So there's some sort of recursion somewhere. Which is not ideal. Let's see just like this, and I'll remove everything from the build. And also the bytes in here, let's just, you know, make it an empty case class. Maybe something like that. Also, this way we'll be able to return like protocol hash. I forgot that we don't have any kind of logging. Also, I didn't realize that this uses SLF4J. I guess it uses log4cas, which would explain SLF4J. Let's see. Okay, this worked. So we have some progress, as if it was the commands that were wrong. So I'm gonna simplify this to find the actual cause and maybe fix it, but I'm quite worried actually. So we're gonna restore the base. Yeah, this needs to be Circe codec. I guess it would be worth having a test for this when it actually finally starts and works. Try again. Yeah, and we got the Stack Overflow again. I'm looking for some information in here, but equals map. I have an idea. So there's this validation or validator type class in Tapir. And I'm thinking whether we need this, like whether it's being derived and that's the problem, or how about this for any, or like def Okay, and this would be validator pass. I remember I used to do this, so I think we still need this for the codec, but maybe the validation would be involved here. It's hard to say, really. And frankly, I didn't expect this kind of issue to be happening. In the worst case, we can always rewrite the routes. We can actually implement it ourselves. Yeah, we're still getting issues. Oh, that's fun. I wonder if it's a known issue. Let's go to Tapir again. There's literally no Stack Overflow in the issues. There's something closed. Okay, so it looks like all the known issues about stack safety were fixed, but not ours, apparently. So we know that the base is already failing. So we have either the empty image or an image reference. Let's see without the image reference. Okay, I see something. Like, we derive the schema for the hash twice, I think. So once for this, and once for the output here and the input here. So I'm actually gonna skip the run endpoint altogether and just try to run this. And also just have one case here. Yeah, I didn't expect to have to make like a tutorial on debugging issues with libraries. And frankly, it didn't help. So I guess I was wrong. But it's definitely related to the CNAM. I put it here. So not build.base, but just base. It definitely sounds like a Tapir issue, given the stack trace only mentions Tapir. Please work. That's funny. Okay, let's see if we have other options for the schema. I'm actually gonna look into the documentation for Tapir. There we go. That's very bright. Okay, I want to see if they have like any kind of Scala 3 support for derivation. Schema derivation. Schema derive. This should be recursive types in Scala 3. Our type is not really recursive, but it cannot be an implicit def. Sorry, it has to be an implicit def, not a given. That's very interesting. But we never used, implicits like defined our own in the first place. I might have to though. Anyway, we don't have recursive types, so I wonder if because this is dot derived, wouldn't this work with like the derives keyword? Metals is refusing to go to this this piece of code. Okay. I'm gonna try this. So without generic auto, let's just do the right schema like this. Maybe it's gonna work. Seems like it works. Yeah, I can already see what we're gonna get. Wow. I'm really puzzled here. What if I define this as a sealed structure? Actually, you know what? Let's put these. Like, let's remove the final. Let's try a couple things at once. We're gonna do this and then base case object empty image since base. How about this? Yeah, having a test would actually also help. We would be able to do this faster. Oh, this works. So, I can only conclude that it's just enums that don't really work like this. Wow. Well, sorry, we didn't confirm whether it was enums or final case class, so I'm gonna restore final again. And we're gonna call the API again. It's still starting. Okay, that still works. So yeah, I can only say it's just enums. Wow. I wonder if it's mentioned anywhere here. Not really. Any open issues for enums? Strange. It's as if nobody has mentioned this yet. So I'm probably gonna make an issue later. By the way, let's see if our PR was approved. It was. So we should be getting Scala Steward PRs from now on. I don't think there will be any already, but you know, at some point there will be PRs, and we will review them at the beginning of every episode. So okay, I want to try something else. I still want an enum. I don't want to use this syntax. Let's see if I can define it as an enum, but still define the implementation of the schema myself. So something like given schema base is schema derived, just like that. Because it's clearly the schema, not the codec, right? At least I think so. We can then check the codec as well. Yeah, okay, this still works. This still breaks. So I will also test what happens if we do given codec, Circe codec, as object base, something like this. Oh, this needs to be in here. It needs to be as object.derived. I'm not a fan of this style, but it's better than not using enums. Like, the whole point of using Scala 3 was mostly about enums. This is probably gonna fail again, and it did. How about we define these as implicits? And let's try again. Let's see. Okay, I'm mad about this. Really strange issue. But okay, I guess that's fine. We're gonna just not use enums. I wonder what other Scala 3 features we are using that might be worth it, because if there's nothing else, like, I don't know, we have given, we had that, using, we had using. There's one of it. You know what? Maybe you should actually move to 213. So the enums, which we have to abandon. Let me rewrite this and we'll see. I will see whether it's, you know, any difference. Yeah, this is the kind of boilerplate you have to write. Thankfully, this is not, you know, a lot of enums. I have only like 3 altogether. And thankfully, this still works. So, oh no, we use derives. That's what we'll lose if we go back to Scala 13. We'll have to lose derives. I don't want that. So yeah, let's stick to Scala 3 for now. Although, you know, it's not that important. Nice. I hope I didn't mess it up. I guess, yeah, the rise, we need the extends clause as well. So which one goes first? That's the question. Is it like this? Or like this? Yeah, okay, so it goes after the extends clause. Is that all? The protocol is still failing because it needs a schema for build. Does build have a schema? No, so let's add one. And I'm gonna add this to every transport type. I think that's it. Yeah, that's really handy. Like, this kind of syntax is probably more useful than even enums. I don't know. Okay, that was too much. Not as useful as enums. We won't need this anymore. Let's see again. I have high hopes. Although I guess this won't. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Array empty. Okay, it started. Finally. Okay, so this is the response I was waiting for all this time. So I'm finally ready to, like, you know, to move on. It probably took us back like half an hour. I'm not gonna commit yet. So this is the logic, that's fine. And yeah, we were going to think about the errors, but since we don't have the error type yet, I'm just gonna stick to this, to the logic infallible. But the logic is gonna be different. And also, do we have the other endpoint? No, we do. So I'm gonna add an implementation for it as well. It's gonna be run, and this is gonna be the hash, and we'll print the hash and return system state map empty. And when we can run this, which I think we can't yet, what's the problem here? It expects what? A list? That's a long error. Let me look at the types here because I this should work with like with the list. Yeah, we need to like downcast the server endpoints to something like this. So I'm gonna say this is a list of that. Sorry, I said downcast. That's supposed to be upcasting. And instead of this, we'll just have any. I think that's should be fine. And F will be IO. And this will need to be imported. Okay, that compiles at least. So yeah. So the reason why it didn't work is variance. I think this is, yeah, invariant in these types. If it was the covariant in these, I think we would be fine. But yeah. So we should be able to call both endpoints now. And the run one is gonna be easier to call. So this is put API build. And then we'll have post API run. And it will take a hash, which has a field called value, which will be an empty array. Okay, and we got the state of the system. Actually, no, this should be like all. And we will need to fix the tests, I think. Okay, this will be all. Yep. So I'm gonna commit this as something like basic HTTP server. Push. And yeah, let's get back to the server. And now it's probably time to connect this to the business logic. Well, the business logic, the server side executor. So this will be instance IO. Or something like exec. And now we just need to call the appropriate method in here. So probably exec build. And here we'll have exec run, which is essentially the same kind of logic as we had before. It just doesn't print anything. And it's going to fail if we provide any other input than whatever we expect. As we defined in the instance, right, in the implementation, it should like raise a throwable. I'm not sure how it's gonna behave, like whether it's actually going to catch the error at some point. Probably make it a 500. That would be the reasonable behavior. But I just wanna check that. So we're gonna send like a byte, 10. That should be a byte, right? Yeah, we got a 500, so that's fine. But there's no stack trace, which I think is hilarious. It should probably be logged with SLF4j, so I'm just gonna add the logback backend. I never remember what the numbers are for the dependency. And also I'll need a config. Although I guess we can use the default config, it should definitely print the output, the throwable somewhere. So I'm gonna add it to shared. No, wait, I'm gonna add it to the server. And I think it's logback classic. or logback core. I never remembered this, so I'm just gonna try. And we'll see. Or I can check it in a different project in the meantime. It looks like I was right. It's logback classic. So this should just work when the build imports. It's taking so long. So yeah, this is probably not the most interesting episode we'll have, especially with this weird issue from Tapir. But I guess that's the cost of using experimental software like the Scala 310 RC2 version and Tapir 0.19.0 milestone 9. Okay, so let's see if we get anything here. We didn't. That's a little surprising, and I'm not sure where the issue is. Probably in Tapir. Maybe that's just the default config. Let's see that. So there's the server options. So it's using log4s as the default logger, but I have no idea which, like, what kind of implementation it uses. Okay, that does use SL4J, but I guess it would give us an error, right? And it should be visible. So I probably don't want to look at this right now, but eventually it would be nice to have some sort of logging for internal server errors in the daemon or the server. But yeah, for now this is all we have. So we're gonna use this server-side executor instance, and that's the whole commit basically. And yeah, we have a server. Now it would be nice to implement the client as well. I think I mentioned the client is just gonna be, a Scala class that we can run, and nothing, no CLI yet, not at this stage. So I'm gonna do that. We're gonna have a main class in here, a main object. Very similar setup. We're gonna create an Ember client, although we don't have the dependencies yet, so we'll have to add them first and do another import in SBT. So we'll have Ember client in the client project. I'm now wondering whether we need anything else. We'll definitely need this and the Tapir module for the client. Probably this. I haven't used it before. I mentioned this already. I haven't used Tapir http4s client. I always used STTP as the immediate layer. But yeah, we'll see how it performs. Okay, the build was imported. In the meantime, I closed that background SBT instance in the hopes of restoring some resources. And yeah, I'm sorry for the constant complaints on that. I'm just gonna, complain about my hardware all the time. You can expect more of this. So Ember client, what? Did I just put the server into the client? Oh no. No, I didn't. Oh, but this, I did. So yeah, another round of waiting. I'm gonna skip that. In a perfect world, I would be able to just, do the work as I would do it normally, but there's just so much waiting. So Ember. Finally, we have the client builder. Default. And I guess just build. Do we have the client? And now I guess it makes sense to do the logic inside this client side executor instance. Gonna use IO, and we're gonna pass the client. And let's do build, something like this, and void here. Or actually, you know what? No, we're gonna flat map to print the result. Okay, and now we of course need to change the instance method so that it takes a client. Probably don't need to pass it implicitly. So we're just gonna do it like this. And in the meantime, I guess I can do the empty build here. And we can run the server in the background. We're not gonna change the server now. Hopefully we won't have to reload the build at all. So the server is running, and now we will be running the client in watch mode. So on every change in the project, we'll recompile and run the program again. And we should be getting exceptions for the time being. So I'm gonna implement this build method in here. I'm gonna import, actually not, I'm gonna rely on metals to complete it for me. So it's like client interpreter. I think that's it. Oh, we'll need, oh, I see. So we probably want to pass it from the outside. And I think we're gonna have just one of these, so I'm gonna put it into my implicits. Yeah. The idea is to not have the async constraint inside the client-side executor. Although, let me think, maybe I do want to have it. I guess it depends on where we're gonna set up the settings. I'd say let's do it in here for now at least. So IO, no options. Can we rely on the defaults? I guess not. Okay, we can. There's a default parameter. That's a slightly different signature than the server one. So we are now passing it. You know what? Actually, I'm going to disable this watch mode. Just let's save some resources. So I'm going to take this interpreter. So the difference between putting it, creating it here and creating it outside is that we don't need to have an async constraint. We'll be able to work with just like functor or whatever, or maybe nothing. Maybe we can just return the results that we want. I guess it depends on what the client requires to call an endpoint. I think it'll be something like concurrent, maybe. We'll see. So to request, wow, that's a fun type. So to request of protocol build with a base URI. Okay. Let's pass. Wow, why is it a string? Okay. Let's use a string. I don't like it though. It shouldn't be a string. It should be something like a URI type, which http4s has. Let's do that. And now apply with the input, which is the build here. And this is the tuple? What? What is this? It's the tuple of the request and the handler of the response. I hope there's an overload that takes like a full client. There isn't, okay. Yeah, I think there should be like a default, a default function that will take this tuple and run it with a client, but there isn't. But I guess we will build it, ourselves locally. It will also specify the base URL, so I think that's fine. So this is a request and a handler. So we can just do client run request use handler. Is that the right type? Response to fdecode result. I think that looks fine. And this will give us an F. Ooh, we need a monad. Okay. Or maybe something else. We don't really know. Because I talked about this in the previous video. The error messages for implicit not found are kind of strange right now. So we need a monad cancel throw. From class effect. That works, I think. So we have an F decode result, either nothing hash. What is decode result? Now, which one is it? Is it a Tapir thing? Probably. I hope not. I hope it's like a... Can I go to this? Let's go here. It's the Tapir one. Huh. So we can... Okay, I see. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a way to convert like a decode result to something like a, pretty string or whatever. They should at least, I think, provide something that does that. Maybe it's in the client options. Of course not. So instead of that, I will use to request unsafe. We can worry about the, the errors of decoding later. So this is an either nothing hash, and to go from an either of nothing and something else, we can do dot merge. It'll just, do a fold basically. What did I do? But I was thinking if we can do the same on like an F, whether it's in like applicative error. And the operations in here. There's no nothing in here. Maybe monad error. I don't see it, so we might have to do a map. Oh yeah, it's rethrow. But we cannot, well, I guess it would work. Oh, we don't have the syntax. Anyway, I'm just gonna do this, merge, and import cats implicits. This is now an f of hash, I think. So we should be able to just return it, and we can. We missed a brace. Okay. And yeah, now I think we can test this out. And it should work. And it does. So we're good. So Tapir works, it does its job, but we definitely need to work on this. And I was thinking whether we should put like the base URL into a shared module, but eventually we will move away from HTTP anyway, so there's probably no point. So I'll just have it hard-coded somewhere or in the config. I think hard coding is for now good enough. Maybe we can put it into like the protocol, like I don't know, the default port. But yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter right now. So we'll have a private method like run of an endpoint, which will have an input and an output. That's a lot of types in here, so I need to... Okay, so input, output. Let's also do the errors. And the errors, I think, come last. No, wait, it's input, error, output, and then the capabilities. We don't have any streams, and we're not gonna have any for a while. So let's do F either E, O, and of course we also need the input, so... And yeah. So this is gonna be the endpoint here. And the input. And I guess that should be fine. What's the problem? Oh yeah, this is request and handler. Hopefully this compiles. So yeah, so now we can just do run protocol. That's very nice. And suddenly the methods become one-liners. So now we have both. Although, yeah, okay, fine. We need this merge. We could define an alias. So run infallible. But these methods are going to have potential errors in the future. Actually, you know what? The methods are not going to expose the types, right? So currently all the endpoints are nothing, but I guess if we have like E, that's a subtype of throwable, we'll be fine as well. We'll also be able to support that, although the error will be caught into the effect. So that should be fine. So we have handler, and we'll do attempt. No, so we'll do rethrow in here, and we don't need the map merge anymore. And this will work because E nothing is a subtype of throwable. So this will work for the existing endpoints, and when we finally define these failure types as throwables, this will still keep working. And the decoding logic will make sure that we actually have the, the right type in there. We could start coding a demo for that as well, but there's no point really. Not at this time. All right. So we have the instance here. Now I'm also gonna do the same thing as we did in the test. So CSE or CSE or just exec. This will be it. So flat map to exec run. And now we want to print. Let's run it once and hope that we get the system state printed out. Oh, that's interesting. Cannot convert the void output to a value. And that's a Tapir thing. The strange thing is that the application keeps running. I would expect it to fail completely. These are some logs from our server. But this is kind of worrying. Because there's no server here, it's just a client, which it's as if there's some threads still running. Strange. So what happened? I cannot convert the void output to value, and that's a Tapir error. I wonder what's wrong. A void output? So we have system state in here, right? Is the server implemented? It should be. Let's go to client output params. Line 71, apparently. Yeah, the thing is, like, where did it get this void thing? Like, that's not part of the protocol, right? We do define an output. We never use the base, which doesn't have outputs. That's really strange. The server is fine, right? Because we saw the server was working. How about the client in here? If anything, I think we're gonna have trouble inside this. But it's difficult to say what kind of trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if we just need to recompile everything. So let's do it. Compile like the shared sources in here, and then the client in here. Oh wait, what? It didn't unplug the server? Looks like there's still the main class running. Okay. Let's run the server again. It's up, and let's run the client. Wow, that's really strange. Wow. What's http4s response? So it's part of the response handling. Wow. I'm still the most puzzled that this just doesn't exit from the application completely. There might be some threads still running, but it's not supposed to work like that. It should just quit. I wonder if the resource is being closed in here, so like let's do guarantee here, guarantee case. So we'll add that here and also on the resource here and also on the effect. Oh crap. And this will be exec, and this will be build. This will be finalize on finalize case. Yeah, let's try that. I wonder if we will ever see any of these messages. Because right now it doesn't look like we will. Maybe this one, probably not the resource. Oh, we see all of them. And all of them are errored. Yeah, so I guess there's some leftover threads. That's the only explanation that I see right now. Good to know, but it doesn't help us. I wanna look at this. What about this unsafe response? I have an idea. Let's use the safe variant of this method, of this interpreter. Okay. Apply, run, use handler, and not rethrow, not yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pattern match on this. It's gonna be an F of either E and output. That's what I want. And this is probably a decode result from Tapir. So I will match on this, and if it's a value, I'll just take it. Otherwise, we're gonna, you know, raise an exception. Something like new trouble. Something like this. Get us a strange. Oh yeah, this needs to be without the lambda. And already compiles. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I want to see what happens here. I'm pretty sure we'll have this case on the second call, but I have no idea why. Yeah, log argument exception. That's too late. We don't have the information. And also, that's the first call? We didn't see it in the build here. Okay, I'm gonna try something else. So we're not gonna have this E type at all. We're gonna use nothing. And we're gonna just treat it as nothing. Not that it should matter, but you know, things happen. I think this is the same thing we run in the first place. But then I'm gonna skip the exec part. So I'm just gonna do the build. No, I guess the first one could have worked. We just didn't see because there was no print line after that. So if I leave one, like an extra one, now we should be seeing, you know, good stuff. And the best part is that it still doesn't close the client. It's just like being left open for no reason. What if we just do IO unit? It stopped after a couple seconds. Now we don't have any kind of signifier to know when exactly, but it doesn't. I think that's an issue. So it's probably just an Ember thing. You know what? What might help if we added the middleware that logs the raw response. This should be flat tab. And I'm gonna do that. So build. I'm gonna use the client middleware. And let's see what options we have. Colored. How about log body text? Now that's like a different kind of thing. Apply. Yeah, I guess that works. Log headers true. True. Log action is going to be message IO print line message. And we have an error here. So flat map exec run. Yeah. That's what I said. This flat tab, this should not change the type. This should still work. I think it's just like a bloop problem at this point. Oh, wait. It didn't. So it was bloop. It's bloop that doesn't exit. So I blamed everything on Ember, but it's just bloop. Let's restart bloop. This should do it, but I'm not sure. Okay, now we have two bloop servers, so there's something wrong, definitely. I'm gonna kill both of them. There we go. Okay, so everything is dead. Let's connect. This should start loop. Or it didn't. I may have to reload everything, but no. A loop apparently is already connected. Well, already running. Hopefully also connected. Let's run the backend again. The server. And let's run the client once. We do have the logging right now, so that's kind of reassuring. We should get some more information this time. And also we are approaching the end of this video, I think. Well, you will know it better than I will because you have the video length. I don't. We got a 500, wow. What? It's a server error? What? Gotta be kidding me. Okay, so that was a good hunch. Like, wow. And here I was questioning my own sanity. So apparently the server, whatever happened in the server? Wow. But still, neither of these has like a unit, a void output. Really strange. And it's definitely just the run endpoint. It is. I'm gonna make this same call. So just yeah, the best part is there's no log in the server. So we're gonna do a post and the body. But still at 500. Really fun. So this is supposed to only take an empty hash, right? So, oh, is it? Are arrays equal to each other when they are empty? How about? Because I think this is just happening. Like we are getting this failure here. So value to list maybe. Why did I even make it an array? Let's change it to a list. This will be nil. I have a fear about this, that the arrays are just doing weirdness. So we'll need to compile both and rerun the server. I swear, if that was it, my career is over. Like I can no longer call myself senior if I was destroyed by a single array. Well, two arrays to be precise. There was two of them, and I'm just one of me. Oh, by the way, when I'm looking like this, like I'm not trying to look at the camera. It's just really close to my top left corner of the screen. Okay, the server should be running. It's probably not because it would log something. Yeah, finally. That is ridiculous. Should we get to the bottom of this? Like the arrays? Let's try. So I'm gonna open an Ammonite shell and just check that. Like what? So we're gonna have an array, like one of them, two R's. Oh, we need to specify the type, I guess. That was supposed to be an array of bytes, right? And we'll have another one. Yeah, I should have known. But you know what the really ridiculous part is? It will work. if it's the same instance of the server that generated the original array, comparing to the to the same instance, because that's exactly what the server did in the test. The test passed. It passed because it was just reusing the same instance. That's ridiculous. So it was equal, because I guess this uses just reference equality. So res1 equals res1. Just like, yeah. Wow. Incredible. So I guess I will use vector, because vectors are supposed to be fast. Or we could use an immutable array, but then I'm afraid about its equality concerns as well. But let's use vector. So now obviously the client is gonna work the first time. And we no longer need this, or the logger import, or the print lines, at least the first one. And we definitely don't need the client implementation. And yeah, of course it worked. I mean, we knew that would work, right? Like the moment we saw the array comparison. Oh my goodness. And I spent so much effort on this. I guess if I can just revert some of the changes. I guess I can. So let's roll this back. And we were on before the slot map, I guess. And to request on save. And this should be it. So as long as this still runs. Yeah, I wanted to do like a test for this, so that when we have a client and we run a command and we have a server, maybe the client would be like an in-memory implementation. But this would require too much refactoring. So what I'm thinking about is like we'll actually have a test. There will be no network involved. That's the cool part. We'll have the server-side executor. As the business logic thing. And we'll have to extract this somewhere. Actually, the whole thing, maybe. Yeah, the whole thing, like this, but without the actual server. So we'll get an HTTP app, and then we can create a client from that. So instead of client like Ember client, we'll do client from HTTP. Come on, help me out here. Client from HTTP app. So we'll pass that here, and then create a client side executor and test it that it returns the same thing as the server does. So we'll like run both and see if the result is the same. And this should be true even in the presence of like of side effects and shared state, because the outputs are supposed to be repetitive, or there's a better word, reproducible. So the builds that we are gonna work on are gonna be reproducible. Although the outputs will be slightly different when we start to add out, like, build output, like build events. But by this time, yeah. I still want to do this just because it's it seems like a nice idea. But it would be best if we had like another method, like in the executor. Maybe that's actually all we need. Maybe we can just have one method that will take a command, this enum that I said I have no use for, this one. It would take that command and return. Yeah, I guess that's the thing. We would need a typed result of a command. So something like command A, and this would be a command of hash, and this would be a command of system state. That's doable. That's definitely doable. But I'm not sure if we even get anything out of it. I guess then we can like, randomly generate a command, and for any randomly generated command, the output of running it through the server will be the same as running it through the client, something like that. But I guess we don't need to do that yet. In fact, we don't need to do anything like that. Like we can get away with no tests at all. But that's not the point. I want to show some practical things. So we'll do just enough testing, I promise. So for now, I'll just wrap this up with some cleanup. Just wanted to make sure I didn't leave any leftovers from experiments or, the debugging session, which was kind of fun. So we have the dependencies. Also, we might extract the versions of the dependencies somewhere. I haven't decided on that yet. We have this number appears a couple of times. It would be nice to upgrade it, like change it in just a single place in case of like conflicts or something. I guess we can do it now. It doesn't take a lot of time or effort, and we don't have to reload the whole build. So I'm gonna use something like this. Normally I would say object versions, but this kind of syntax is not compatible with SBT. So Tapir will be 0.19.0M9. Is that the right number? Yes. And http4s will be 0.23.3. And that's all we need, I think. Everything else is just, one-time appearances. So versions Tapir. That's fun. Versions Tapir. And versions http4s. And we're gonna import. I'm gonna trust myself on this one. That's one thing I wanted to do. What else? We have the logic in here. I think it's all right. The constraints that we have are not very high. It's just mount, cancel, throw, and http4s client interpreter. We have the two commands implemented, the methods for running the commands. We have a client that we can run as a one-time, like one-shot application. And we changed the type of the array to a vector instead. I think that's fine. So implement client. So let's look at the things that we wanted to do. I would say we've done all of these. So that's actually exactly what we did. So this is episode 2. And yeah, I think that's where we will finish this. So in the next episode, I guess we will finish like testing. I can already write this down here. We'll do some like client testing. Maybe, yeah, actually we're gonna do what I mentioned before. So like client server compatibility testing. I don't think these tests will be like super valuable, but they will help us avoid any kind of issues like, well, actually it'll save us from the issue that we were solving. So the like format inconsistency. What I think is kind of bad is that we didn't see that we got a 500. Like, I wonder how we can avoid that. Like, the endpoint, like what the expected output is, like the error, well, the status code. Yeah, that's kind of. Oh, how about maybe if I specified the code somewhere here? I think that was an option. So this and something like status code 200. And now if we threw we would get something else. So it's gonna be status code. I'm gonna run this just to check. I'm gonna throw an exception in the server on purpose and see if it gets converted to a proper response this time, or shown in a different way. Okay. Status code. Is that okay? Yeah. So it's gonna be something like that. Okay, and the server. I'm gonna just flip this this boolean. Let's see. I would expect it to behave at least, in a slightly different way. Maybe not exactly something very, very friendly, but maybe it will notice that, hey, the status code is different. Maybe I should first focus on that. But then again, I put the output first and the status code goes second. So maybe that's not exactly gonna work. Yeah. Void output. I guess the void output is the output of the failed response, which would also make sense. That's really interesting. Yeah, we can look at that later. So something like, yeah, these practical things that nobody wants to do, like logging, error handling. I think that's what we should focus on in the next video. So the compatibility testing will give us something to work with, and this will also be some work, and maybe something else. We'll see how much time this all takes. I definitely didn't expect this all to take so much time right now. I'm gonna revert all the changes here except the readme. Okay. All right. So yeah, so this is what I want to do in the next episode. If you have any ideas for how to better develop this project, or you have anything that you think I should focus on next, let me know in the comments. And yeah, let me know how you liked this video. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.